My topic is movies that got us into horror films, or kind of the first horror films
Ooh.
we remember watching when we were kids. So you can touch on, I guess, maybe the first ones you remember. I know you talked about Signs already, and then we can obviously talk about ones that impacted our taste maybe in horror films. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I can let you start it off if you want. And
Sure. Yeah, Signs is a big one for me. I loved Signs ever since I was a wee boy. Um, oh yeah, I watched that when I was in primary school. I don't know what primary school is in your barbaric land.
elementary school is
There
what
we
we call
go.
that.
There we go. But yeah, no, Signs definitely because it's very much like a good stepping stone into horror. Um, One, I'm not sure if you consider it as a horror. I kind of do. Coraline.
I think so. Yeah, it's an animated horror film for
Yeah,
sure. For
it's
kids,
very
definitely.
fucking dark. If it's not, it's very dark. That was a good stepping stone into horror as well. I thought that that was terrifying, but I loved it. All the button eyes and everything. Everyone that's seen Coraline knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
That movie's so damn good. That deserves a rewatch. I watched Poltergeist when I was younger. I loved it. I loved Poltergeist. They're here. Oh man, still creepy. Um, Child's Play, of course, was one of the ones that my brother showed me when I was younger. Fuck him. Um, Pan's Labyrinth. We mentioned we talked about Pan's Labyrinth last week in our top 10 ranking. I believe it's a horror. It has definitely has horror elements. It's a dark fantasy, sure, but it definitely has horror elements. I got shown this by my mom when I was young because she got it from we call it video stores, but you like Video Easy in Australia, but you guys can have Blockbuster, don't you? Yeah, it's like Blockbuster. Uh, sh-
Hmm.
but she picked that up for me, thinking that it was the sequel to Labyrinth with David Bowie, and it's so far away from that because I'm like 5 minutes in, 8 years old, watching the Spanish Civil War as these villagers are getting murked, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Where's David Bowie? And he's just not there. That in itself, I think, really made me love it because remember finishing that movie being like, that was horrifying, but there was something
Were
there
you
that was really
scared
awesome.
of the pale man? Like, did it
Yeah,
scare you?
oh, big time. Yes, yeah, big time. But the more I watch that movie, the more I appreciate it. And then some other ones that really did. Jaws is much more entertaining than a horror film. It is definitely a horror film. It's a creature feature. But I love that bloody movie. I saw that in the theaters like last year sometime. My theater does retro movie sessions, like how I saw Back to the Future last night, and that was probably the best theater experience I've ever had. It's just super fun. The Exorcist kind of had that like notoriety of being the scariest movie ever when I was a kid, and it took me a lot to actually watch it. I was like an early teenager when I first watched it. It's got some scenes that are terrifying. There's this deleted scene, I think it's deleted, of her spider or crab walking down the stairs.
Hmm.
That image alone is the scariest thing for me of that
I'm
whole.
picturing it now, and I really don't wish I wish I wasn't. It
Yeah,
sounds horrifying.
it's terrible. One that you might mention, The Ring. That I like to grow up in our generation. The Ring needs to be mentioned. The Ring and The Grudge. And I also
100%.
also had a little shout out to The Dark Crystal. You ever watch The Dark Crystal?
Doesn't sound
Oh,
familiar.
it's like with all like puppets and stuff, and it's really creepy. It's kind of like Labyrinth, David Bowie's Labyrinth, but a bit more creepy. But those are definitely the ones that I watched when I was a wee boy that got me into horror for sure. What'd you watch?
Great list. Yeah. So definitely The Ring, I will start with because that was the first horror film I remember seeing. I feel like I had a different experience with horror films because like my parents were not big movie buffs. Like my dad liked history and like war movies. So like I saw Apocalypse Now when I was like 13 or something with my dad. So it's like I've seen a lot of classics in that sense, but they were not scary movie people. And my brother's 12 years older than me. So it wasn't like I had someone to like show, he was 18 when I was 6. So he wasn't like, oh,
That's
here,
awesome.
watch this horror film. So unfortunately, I had to kind of like discover them myself. So I feel like I started with the ones that were modern and then I ended up watching the classics later. So I feel like I almost went like in a weird order, I guess. So The Ring was the first one I remember watching. I think I was 9, maybe 10. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. Like, this is my jam.
Hell
So that
yeah.
was kind of when I realized I liked horror films. And that one just so iconic. Obviously, it's a remake. We know that, but I still think it holds up pretty well. I watch it every couple of years and I still enjoy it. Obviously, the Grudge remake as well. I remember
Oh,
watching. So creepy, that kid. Oh my God. And then on top of that, I feel like the Final Destination movies
oh,
definitely
great pick.
were my thing. Yeah. The first two alone were like, I feel like for a long time I would watch them just, back to back. I'd always watch them at the same time together. And then when the third one came out, I think I might have been in high school, maybe late middle school. And then I would watch that one. So as the first three were kind of the ones I would watch the most, but the first one obviously being the most iconic.
Thinking about Final Destination, just it's in Final Destination 2. The truck with the logs, the tree
Yeah.
logs. You just think of that, you're like, oh, here we go. You'd like,
Nobody ever drives next to one of those the same ever
no,
again.
no one does. Oh, great pick. Love those movies.
Yeah. So that one, actually, funny enough, the original Final Destination was actually because of an episode that they were going to make of X-Files. I don't know if you ever watched the X-Files.
No, I didn't. I
I,
didn't know this.
this is
Wow.
a really popular American show when like in the 90s. I watched it with my parents. It was like a detective, like, working on case files kind of show.
Scully and
But I guess
Mulder.
found it. What is it?
Scully and Mulder. Is that the David
I'm
Coffey though?
blanking on.
It's David
Yeah,
Coffey.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, I guess the Final Destination one was based on like an episode they were gonna do of the X-Files that got scrapped. So
Really?
somebody found it and was like, well, let's make this into a movie. And then now look, it's got what, 5 movies attached to it. So
Yeah. I.
kind of just an early fun fact there. But yeah, so Final Destination, and then I would say the last couple probably were like, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Stay Alive. Do you
Oh,
remember
Stay
that?
Alive. Oh, great pick.
Big Frankie Muniz fan over here at that time. So I loved the concept of just like, because I was pretty much like a gamer kid for the most part. So I feel like just the idea that you could die in real life if you die in the video game,
That's a
loved it.
great
Absolutely loved
pick.
it. And then Cabin Fever was probably the last one that really,
Oh, good one as well. Yeah. Yeah.
that like kind of going to the cabin with your friend, the high school, college age friends, and something bad starts happening. The standard recipe that we see over and over again. But yeah, I think those are probably the ones. And then obviously Nightmare on Elm Street I saw when I was like 13 or 14, and that became an instant favorite of mine. But yeah, I'm definitely a slasher and or, kind of more on the campy horror side. That's definitely what influenced my taste for sure.
Yeah, I also want to give a shout out to Scream, of course. Like it's your
Yeah.
second favorite horror film. It's my favorite horror film. I reckon I remember Scream being like the first nightmare I had of like horror movies of just the ghost face. I'm just running around. Definitely shout out to Scream. I'm thinking about getting a ghost face tattoo in the next couple of weeks. By the way,
Do it.
just a little shout out, like just right like on my forearm, just like right there. I'm thinking about just getting a little ghost face because
Yeah, actually,
I got a
this
friend
is
that
off topic.
yeah, very off topic. I got a friend that he's about to get a tattoo. It's his first tattoo. He just beat cancer. So he's getting on
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, he's just getting on his scar tissue of the where the needle went in. Can't remember how it's pronounced. Vini Vici Venice or whatever it's called. It's I came, I saw, I conquered. Great. Unreal. And I'm like, I want to get a tattoo with you. So I'm like, you get that? I'm gonna get Ghostface.
I
so
love it. I love it.
so
You got
yeah.
to get what I guess is connected for you. Actually, I was gonna say, me think of it, but I know we're off topic talking about tattoos, but I actually think I'm gonna get one, and I think I'm gonna do it on my hand, and I think I'm
Nice.
gonna do it like the nice guys. You know how he has the "You will never be happy," but I just want it to say "You will be happy"
I love
with the
that.
smiley face.
Yeah, I love
I was like,
that.
it's like one of my favorite movies of all time, and that's a perfect. I don't know if I'll get it on my hand. Maybe I'll do like my arm or something. But you made me think of it when you mentioned the ghost face. So
Yeah,
we
like
love
the
movie tattoos.
100%. Like there's a bunch that I want. I want to get the broken sword out of Lord of the Rings on my forearm. I want to get a couple like Ray Bans for Blues Brothers. But I was thinking about if I was watching Back to the Future last night, and this is far down my list. I wouldn't get it straight away. But if I was to get a Back to the Future tattoo, I'd get the "Do not open until 1986," where he writes it on the letter to give to Doc. I just like get those words. Like I think that's really a cool reference. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, no, I think clearly movie lovers have to make it known on their bodies that we love movies, right? So
Oh
we have
yeah.
to get as many movie related tattoos as we can. So
Amen.